This should be a pretty short video. Today I'm going to be testing, making some voltage measurements to test the neutral and park inhibitor switch on the transmission. It's also going to test the wiring. There's two different relays I want to test. The ASCD relay, this is the cruise control hold relay. I want to make sure that power is getting to it when I push the power button on the cruise control. And also the clutch NMP. That NMP stands for neutral and park. I want to make sure that voltage is getting to that relay. So this relay is the hold relay. This relay here is the NMP, or the inhibitor. This should get 12 volts when the car is idling and in park or neutral. So I want to make sure that that's happening. If it's not, then that would explain why the cruise control is not able to go into self-test. Once I figure out how to get to go in self-test, I'll document how that procedure is done. But right now it doesn't even do that. So I need to pull these two relays out. I'll probably do them one at a time. I'll check this one first, make sure that when the cruise control power is on, this thing energizes. Then I'll reinstall that, and I'll pull this one, and then I'll check the transmission park and neutral switch. I'll change the gear in both park and neutral and make sure this is getting power. So let me get busy and get those measurements done. So I got my multimeter set on DC volts, and it's not registering any volts yet. I've got it plugged into the two wires that's going to energize that respective relay. So let me get in there and turn the key on. I don't need to start the engine, I just need to turn the ignition on and make sure power is getting there. I also need to make sure that the cruise control button is on after I give it power. So let me turn the ignition on. Okay, it's on. This light should come on. It's not. I guess I have to start the car then. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, so that relay is not critical to give that power. That's what I expected. All right. Oh boy, I'm not getting any voltage. Move this around. Maybe it's just got a bad connection. Oh, I think power's there, but it's weird. Zoom out a little bit. I should be measuring power. Huh. I don't know if it's because I can't get to the wires or if there's a wiring problem, but there's no power here, so this test is a fail. Although it seemed like it went to 12 volts briefly. That was... Okay. I don't think it's getting 12 volts. So I think what I'll do now is plug in the relay and see if I can feel it clicking, because I don't understand why I'm not getting a voltage there, and it looked like it went to 12 volts briefly. So let me plug this in and see if I can feel it click. I didn't feel it click. I don't think it clicked. Let me make sure the power is still on to the cruise control. Yeah, power's on. All right. But the engine, when it's not running, the engine has to be running for the power to get to the cruise control. Was not expecting that. All right, I still want to check the other relay though. Okay, so I've got the inhibitor relay out, and I've got my voltmeter plugged in just like I did with the other test. When I turn the ignition on, I expect to see 12 volts here when the car is in either park or neutral. So right now there's no volts, engine isn't on, the ignition isn't on, and the engine isn't running, but the ignition isn't on. All it has to be is the ignition on. So let me do that. Oh, and I also need to turn the cruise control on. So, or I'm going to, let's just say that. All right, the ignition's on. Cruise control is powered. And yes, there is 12 volts, and that's with it in park. So now I'm going to put the car in first gear, or drive, not first gear. Okay, it's in drive. So now the power should be off. Yes, power's off. Now I'm going to put it in park and the power should come back on. If all of that works, that means the inhibitor switch is not the problem. Okay, we're in neutral now. Okay, yes, we have 12 volts. Okay, so that tells me the inhibitor switch on the transmission is good. The wiring between the inhibitor switch and the relay box is good. I'm going to now test this on the bench and make sure it's good. I'll be back. I'm here on the bench with the relay. According to the diagram on the back of the relay, one switch is going to be normally closed and one is going to be normally open. Got it upside down. Okay, so between pins 6 and 7 is normally open. Between 3 and 4 is normally closed. So are they labeled under here? Only 6 contacts. I'm not sure. So what I'll do is I'll ohm out or check continuity between different combinations of these 4 here. The 2 bottom ones there are the power, so that's what I'll be applying 12 volts to. So I will measure continuity between the different ones and figure out which one's normally open, which one's normally closed. Then I'll energize it and make sure it swaps. I'll be back. Okay, so with the power not being applied, I cannot find any contacts that are normally closed. Everything is open. So nothing's going on there. Oh, wait a minute. That's interesting. Okay, I didn't try that combination. So that must be the normally closed. So the other 2 must be the normally open. All right, let me go ahead and do the tests. Okay, my eyes are very bad, but with the magnifying glass and good light, I can see that they're numbered in there. So 3 and 4 are supposed to be normally closed, and 6 and 7 are supposed to be normally open. So yeah, the 3 and 4 is corresponding correctly to the normally closed. Let me do my test. I'll be back. To do the test, I've got the 12 volts hooked up and I got the normally closed hooked up. I'm about to give it power. You can hear it's beeping. That means it's conducting. When I apply power, it turns off. So that test is good. Let me switch the contacts for the other test and I'll be back. I'm wired up for the next test. You'll hear that it's not beeping. Let me apply power. It immediately comes on and is conducting. This relay is good. Test is complete. All right, I'll be reinstalling that and focusing on the other problem, or the other relay, because there seems to be a problem with it. All right, I'll be back. Okay, I'm back at the schematics now. Our tests have confirmed that this fuse is good. This inhibitor switch on the transmission is good. We know that this relay, this is the inhibitor relay. We tested it, it's good. Tested it on the bench. We know it's getting power. When it gets power, it energizes both of these. But we don't have a park neutral switch. Well, I guess we do. Yeah, we do. it powers it on. But that's not part of the problem. We need to focus on the cruise control. So this line here will be connected. So power through the cancel switch, in other words the brake pedal, is going to make it to the control module. This long block here again is the cruise control module. So this switch is probably good from the test that I did. Now this relay needs to be energized. This is the hold relay. This is the one where I measured across these two terminals and did not get 12 volts when I expected it to. And the only thing it needs is this to be on, the cruise control main switch. Now, we know the switch is working because see how this illumination light is wired? If this connects, then this light turns on. So 12 volts goes across that bulb and lights it up. So we know that this switch is not the problem because that light wouldn't come on if that was the case. Now this other switch here, not sure that would apply 12 volts there. Well, actually, wait a minute. This switch here, yes, this switch here powers the relay. So yeah, I don't think it's this. I don't think this is the problem. So we know it's not the control module because it's been replaced. It's got to be wiring, and I know the relay is good. I've tested the relay, so it's got to be wiring. Something funky with the wiring, or the socket for this relay is bad, and these contacts are just not making or not getting there. So that's what I need to focus on, and that's going to be where I stop with this video because that's going to take some effort. Thanks for watching. Okay, I was wrong. Video's not over yet. Got to thinking about it. The coil, the hold coil for the cruise control, one side of the coil circuit for this is directly to ground. The other side goes through the power switch and to the module for the 12 volt. That's where it gets the 12 volt. So I'm going to do a test to try to isolate whether it's a ground problem or a voltage problem. If it's a ground problem, then I need to find where that connection is and clean it up to the car body, car frame, wherever it's connected. If the ground turns out to be good, then that may be that the switch itself is degraded and I can mess around, maybe clean it or something to get it to work better or replace it. So let me do the ground test first and see how that goes. Okay, I finally figured it out, guys. I'm going to show you what test finally proved it. All right, as you can see, I've got the voltmeter plugged in to the coil terminals for the hold relay, the cruise control hold relay. And I've got the voltmeter propped up there so I can see it from inside the car. All right, right now it's 0.03, I'm sorry, 0.3 volts, so 0.3. Can you see that? 0.3. Okay, so now when I push the cruise control button, shit, it's not turning on. All right, so this switch is apparently bad. Let me, sometimes I can get it to turn on, but it's not cooperating at the moment. Let me check my connections, I'll be back. So I have to have the engine running. I forgot about that. Cruise control requires engine running apparently. But right now the switch control, the switch power button, I'm talking about this thing right here, off and on, okay? So it's off now, and I'm getting 0.8. When I push the button and I let go of the button, it's still 0.8, okay? But if I push and hold the power button, it goes to 14 volts, okay? So the problem is this stupid button is bad. I'm gonna have to replace it, or yeah, basically just replace it. So when I release it, you see it goes back to 0.8. So that is the problem. So I will replace it and that will fix it, pretty darn sure. I can still do the test though, I guess. Let me try that real quick. So if I have my hand on the cruise control, cancel, I guess I'll pick cancel. If I'm holding it down with my finger and I press and hold the button, well, it's still flashing. I don't know. Maybe that's, I don't know. maybe there's still a problem, but that is definitely a problem. So I'm gonna have to fix that first before I can continue evaluating. All right, well, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching.